We should start everything all over again, have a second lunch. So for those of you on Zoom, so Andy just did a very eloquent announcement of some upcoming festivities. Short version is, although not as detailed, Anita's installations on the 25th. It's a weekend, Saturday and Sunday that we're going to have. She's going to be installed. And then as the district governor, she's going to install our next president, which Andy did not mention, but is Andy himself. So it's going to be a good time at a la carte downtown on June 30th. So there's sign-up sheets. So I guess if you're on Zoom and you would like to sign up, please send it into the chat, and then we'll note your names. So that's June 30th. That's a Thursday, right, Andy? Yes. It's a Thursday, June 30th, 5:30 p.m. Cafe a la carte, downtown Tucson, and it's $30 a person. All right. So any questions on those two events? All right, great. Well, moving right along. So let me see here. All right, good. We're doing well on time. Still getting used to the new schedule. So I'm gonna. Is it Pablo? Or I guess it's Bobby D. Are we? Are we moving it up now? Yeah. All right. So we'll be doing the Queen of Hearts. Gotcha. Okay. So for those of you that don't know, Pablo is in charge of the Queen of Hearts application. I guess we'll just call it that. So he went outside to go get it rigged. So we will then move. We'll come back to that. But we do have in our presence today Michael Troughton, who will be performing the Sergeant at Arms duty. So get your wallets and purses out, and hopefully raise some funds here, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Andy. Can everybody hear me out there? No? You can hear me now? Oh, good to see you. Yeah. Let's see. Hey, Bobby D, who was with you on Saturday? Bob Grady? You were there? So if Bobby D didn't just name you, you can throw a buck in the can, because it was hot out there, wasn't it? From what I heard. And I don't know if you guys saw on the wagon wheel, the note, the thank you note you guys got in the food. That was pretty nice, wasn't it? It was pretty cool. And Barbara, I heard you have a new way to get out of helping. Would you like to explain to everyone how you can volunteer and still not have to volunteer?
Tell you that you wear shoes just like this. See? Pretty, huh? Pretty toes, open-toed shoes? No. Anyway, so I got to sit in the break room with all the pizza and the empanadas. And fortunately, I was not alone, because Connie Grady also was just like me. So we went in and we wrote a grant. So we worked.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There you go. Well, thank you. Thank you. All my birthdays are gone this week. Anita, Norm, and Pat Egbert's wife Candy has a birthday today as well. Do you have a? Oh, we'll take your money to do this week. Oh. What you do for your birthday?
I had a week of birthday celebration. We went out of state and did stuff there, and we did stuff here, and it just dragged on and on and on. This one, and I'm going to do a leg up, and I'll throw a couple extra bucks in because I'm totally without cash today. I turned the big 7-0. Oh, and I'm still standing. Woohoo!
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh. Okay. Yeah, we do. Guests can do that too, but yeah. No anniversaries, but next week, you and Connie. You took care of it already? You did? Oh, okay. 42. Whew, pretty good. 10? Carry one? Yeah. Okay. Any other happy bucks out there today? Whoa, yes, not all at once. Jeez. Bobby D.
I'm just glad Steve Pender's a member of this club so that our people on Zoom can hear what we're doing. So
today is my brother's 69th birthday. So I'm happy about that. So I'm going to put some money in.
Okay. Oh, we got Tony. We got Tony there.
So even though I paid, I'm claiming an exemption from loading the truck because I didn't see any of you helping me and my son move him out of my house into his.
Ooh.
He actually bought a house somehow in Rita Ranch, and I survived, and he's out, and I got a happy buck or two for that. Also, a shameless self-promotion buck. 2 weeks from Saturday, thank you for the like, Audrey. I do notice those things. Holy Cat Swing Club has been invited to play at the new Century Club, the Century Room in the Hotel Congress. That's the brand new jazz club. We're going to be there Saturday, June 4th. They call it an after-hours show. We're doing 2 sets starting at 9 p.m. Some of you may have to stay a little past your bedtime to come join. And then we're down for the summer because I'm having hand surgery on June the 10th. I'll be fine, but that's what's going on. So I got some bucks in the can for all that.
That's Steve.
And I'll throw a buck in the can. My wife and I booked airfare at extraordinary prices to go back east. So my apologies to President-elect Andy. We will not be in town for the change of gavel, but we're going to spend some time in the Big Apple and then go visit family. So we're looking forward to a nice break, and I'm sure I'll have a few more dollars to put in the can when we get back. So.
Okay. DJ. I'll share a happy buck just to have Joseph here. We had met through mutual friends, online through COVID a couple years ago now, and got to visit his newly opening Oak Street Health location up on Oracle last week. And then he and his colleagues were quite kind to me when we found out a family member had passed last week. So a sad buck for that, but happy that I was among a friendly crowd at the time. So thank you. Maria.
Mine is to thank Audrey. About a month ago, I had one of those horrible accidents falling off my bed. And she was so kind. She took me to my car in a wheelchair that she found here. And my happy buck is that I don't have a cane today and I'm almost normal. Thank you.
Okay. Good. Anybody out there in the Zoom world? Irv? No? Okay. Anyone? Everyone's happy out there? No one's happy? Paul, Colorado? Happy? Good. Oh. No? You just happy? Just a donation? Yeah, Paul, watch out for the snow that's coming.
Yeah, about a foot, but it's not sticking to the roads.
It's a bummer. Okay. Well, President, that's all I got for you today.
Thank you, Michael, for your kind services, and for all of you that participated, and raise some money, good money for our foundation. So the good news I have now is that we have the Queen of Hearts ready to go. So the bad news is that I have to call Pablo up to do it. So.
Steve, we're even 1 for 1. All right. So the moment we're all waiting for, the Queen of Hearts. We're up to 34.95. So $5 away from $3,500. So keep it going. And the winner is not here or in Zoom. So Jimmy's going to do the honor of pulling the card, and that is Anita. So let's see.
Arrangement, just as witnesses, 50-50 split is, take the queen out. Well done.
Yes. You guys can always participate on the website when the link is up, or in person when you come and just pay me or Bob some cash and you'll be in this fun drawing. Till next time, adios.
Thank you, Pablo. And yeah, I guess after all this time, this just goes to show you that the app is working. You've covered yourself very well, Pablo. So Anita not being here, she obviously did it through the link. So it's on the wagon wheel. So if you can't join us, please help support the foundation and enter into a chance to win some good money. So, all right. Well, I think unless there's any other announcements, I'm going to get started. And we have a really good program. Maria Elena, thank you and your committee. You've done another good one today. We have with us today Kimberly Ely. Am I pronouncing that? Who is with Patronato San Xavier. And so Kimberly is the development director of Patronato San Xavier, which is a non-sectarian nonprofit charged with raising and directing funding to conserve the fragile art and architecture of Mission San Xavier del Bac. I know there's a few folks from out of town or non-Tucsonans, non-native Tucsonans, but that's the mission down in the southwest part of town towards the Tohono O'odham reservations. So Mission San Xavier del Bac is one of the most culturally significant at-risk sites in the world. So Kimberly is going to be talking to us about Patronato's role in the conservation efforts of the mission. Prior to arriving in 2016, Kimberly spent 20 years in Nashville, Tennessee, where she served as the vice president of development for the historic Cheekwood Estate and Gardens and raised funds for the Frist Art Museum. Kimberly joined Patronato San Xavier in July of 2018 as Patronato's first development director, having formerly held the position of vice president of development for the Tucson Symphony. Kimberly is passionate about art, architecture, and historic preservation, and calls her position with Patronato her dream job. Her professional experience includes 18 years of nonprofit fundraising, as well as financial services marketing in Latin America and Europe. She received her international MBA from Thunderbird School of Global Management and her BA in Foreign Languages and Art History from Southern Methodist University. Kimberly was an active Rotarian in Nashville, and she is a former member of the Rotary Club of Tucson. And so with that, please join me in welcoming Kimberly.
Hello, everybody, and I hope everyone can hear me. I want to also say hello to the people on Zoom. You all seem like an amazing club, and I wanted to thank President Jimmy for the invitation and Maria Elena for so warmly helping me be sure I had all my ducks in a row, and I've had a chance to meet so many of you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I think I've got my little clicker here, but let's see. Is that what I do? Do I point it this way? Let's see. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure who did that, but it's the right direction. So anyway, so many of you even here today have asked me about what is Patronato San Xavier. And so just know that on each table, I left a brochure that we give to people who visit the mission. And I also left a copy of our most recent newsletter that we send to our friends of Patronato that talks about all the work that we have been doing and the future ahead. But basically, we have several roles. First of all, we fund and direct ethical conservation. We conduct scientific research with other mission organizations that are facing similar challenges. And we also run a docent program that's been on hiatus due to COVID, but basically it's interpreting the significance of the mission for the community and the visitors who can take complimentary walk-up tours. And most importantly, we like to clarify, because we're a separate 501c3 from the church, that we receive no sustaining funding from any government or religious organization. Okay, great. So I thought I might just do a little bit of a backwards look to sort of show you what's been going on during the days of COVID. And of course, one thing that's very interesting to people is that when our governor has an executive order about COVID, it has no influence on the mission because it's located on the Tohono Nation. So the executive orders of the Tohono Nation are in place. So they were very heavily affected by COVID. And so basically, for a long time, it was completely closed, and then it moved into being open from 9 to 12, and now it's open 9 to 4, but masks are still required. People could purchase their candles, they could go in and light a candle, but the local parish members, the parish had local community members at the church entrance just saying to people, please go in and stay no longer than 10 minutes. And they couldn't let more than about 12 people in at a time. So those of you who've walked in the church, you would have faced basically going in about 20 feet, being able to light a candle. You could see a little bit further, but you couldn't go any further. There was no holy water because of COVID. And then you would kind of zigzag out to exit the church, not that far into the church. So that's kind of the way it has been. But I will give you good news. And you're kind of among the first to know because the parish priest wants to keep it on the download to keep the tourists from coming back quickly. But as of Easter, those barriers are no longer there. So the tours have not come back, but at least people who go can actually go all the way up to the front. They can pray, they can stay, and it is much more like the good old days. So that's really exciting. But what's been really exciting, thanks to the wonderful funding that we've been receiving, is that we have been really busy over COVID. And so just wanted to sort of give you an idea what's been going on. So about 18 months ago, our conservation management plan was delivered, and that took a really long time because we had experts coming out to say to us, what is the pathway that Patronato needs to follow? What are the parts of the mission that are on the condition side that need the attention first, so that not only we can manage more proactively, but you're not sort of waiting for the next urgent damage to occur. So we had this amazing conservation management plan delivered, which University of Pennsylvania had assisted with. And basically it's the framework for the ongoing care and management of the built structures on this 14-acre campus. And they did a thorough assessment of the site and heritage values. You know, what do these things mean to people? And also creating policies with recommending how often, once these have been conserved, how often do they need attention? So that allows you to plan for conserving and maintaining the good work that's done instead of having it become a deferred maintenance kind of thing. So we were really thrilled because a local Tucsonan by the name of Star Cardillo went to the University of Pennsylvania, and she has a degree in heritage preservation. And she has ended up being the driving force behind this conservation management plan. And so she is very much involved in our work and comes out quite regularly from Pennsylvania. I also want to introduce you to some of our art conservators. So on the left is Matilda Rubio, and she is from Spain, and her husband is on the far right, Tim Lewis, and they met during the 90s when an Italian team of conservators had come over to clean the mission for about 5 years, 3 months a year, and they had just finished working on the Sistine Chapel. So of course it was a great team. And Matilde was on that team, and she met Tim, who's from the village of Walk, and he was apprenticing as a conservator. So they met and married. And then we have our intern, Susie Moreno, who's just next to Tim, and she's become really an apprentice with our group, and she is from the village of Walk. She was raised in the shadow of the mission, and that's what we love. This is a site that was a collaboration between the Spanish and the local Walk people, and it still is. So we're really excited to be able to maintain the care and furthering of the work through the hands of the people that have the closest connection. So a couple of interesting projects. The Virgin of Guadalupe is so beloved, and we had one painting that had been in pretty poor repair, and we ended up finding out through their conservation evaluation and work that at one time it had been attached to a sailboat canvas. Okay, so what was it doing on a sailboat canvas, right? So when you do conservation, you learn so much about the history of how things have been maintained over time. And that project took, almost a year. You can sort of see on the left before the cleaning, and then on the right, the beautiful revealed colors. Also, for a while, we were working on a statue. It's a life-size statue of St. Francis of Assisi. And the really interesting thing is, for those of you who've been to the mission, we sort of refer to the interior mural paintings as being folk Baroque, because, they're not really high level, but they're enchanting, and they're more of a folk Baroque. But these sculptures are the real deal. They are major, fine art. And the sculptures inside the mission were mostly commissioned from Mexico City. So they came, and they still display incredible revelations of detail. And this is Susie. She was working hard on the conservation. And interestingly enough, inside the core of St. Francis is a hollow area from his waist down. And these are mud daubers that she removed. They weren't active, but at some point, this thing's been in place for, since probably, 1775. And so, you've got bats, you've got mice, you've got mud daubers, you got everything. So it's just, you never know what you're going to find. So I thought I'd share that with you. And then one of the other things I love to talk about, which is often overlooked because of the beauty of the exterior architecture and the mural painting inside, is all of the important wooden elements. And so what's really fantastic is we happen to have here in town Luke Addington. And Luke really knows the history of wood, and he has you can see all of his tools behind him. They're all 18th century. And he can look at a door, and he can tell you everything about it. So between Luke's expertise and the fact that we also have the incredible tree ring laboratory here at the campus, you can do dendrochronology, which I really didn't even know what that was. So the idea is that now we're able to find out, well, where did the tree come from, first of all, that was used? And then you think about, how did they get it there, from so far away? And how old was the tree when it was harvested? And when you think about, bringing in all the wood for the beams and the doors, it's pretty impressive. But what I love is that that again, kind of at the high level of artistry, is that Luke has said that there's real evidence of guild-trained wood carpentry. So the area there was an area in Querétaro in Mexico where a lot of the guilds were brought over from Spain, and that expertise was shared, and then it was moved up into all of the missions and other churches that were built. So it kind of gets me excited when I realize that these are so incredibly historic. And so one of his first projects was this west nave door, and he wanted to use it as kind of a way to unlock the secrets of how best to remove hundreds of years of dust and dirt and grime, and having somebody put polish on it. And so he took them to his studio and really came up with the protocols that were necessary. Here's a picture inside his studio. He ended up perfecting the protocols to properly clean the door, which now means that all of our other sets of doors are going to be conserved in a much faster manner, most likely in place, not needing to go away. And so that's been an incredibly advancing benefit of his work. Also, interestingly enough, and I only touched on Baroque, but Baroque was an interesting, the mission is considered some of the finest ultra Baroque architecture and art in the New World. And so part of the Baroque influence was really having everything adorned that could possibly be adorned. And so they say it in, kind of a way to think about it is a fear of empty spaces. So if you go in and there are no empty spaces, it's probably Baroque. But one of the other things about Baroque is the idea that of symmetry. So for example, on the left, you have this west nave door, and then immediately on the other side, there is no door. But what did they do? They painted one. Okay, so it's just kind of that trompe l'oeil, fool's eye, but adding the balance. And also the dado that you see, it's kind of a wainscoting. That's supposed to, of course, be a representation of tile work. And of course, there wasn't any tile work up there. So they were able to recreate that in painting. And I'm sorry, I know I'm going pretty fast, but I want to respect your time. So one of the other interesting things we've been doing is looking at our 18th century original bells, the mission bells. And so we've had quite a bit of work done. We have an original Presidio bell. So for those of you who may not be from here, like you, newly here, the Presidio was the military outpost that really was responsible for protecting the mission, among others. And so when the Presidio had 3 bells, and so one of the bells was gifted to the mission. And so it was a metal bell, it was a bronze bell, and we knew that it wasn't original to the mission, but that went away to the Arizona State Museum Conservation Lab, where one of our board members, Nancy Odegaard, took it through a whole conservation analysis in order to unlock those secrets again to do the applications to the other bells. So this is another bell that we've got, and the bells have names. It's pretty interesting. But this bell was just conserved probably about a month ago, and this was the team that helped make it happen. And the bells, as you may or may not know, are very, very important to the community of Walk, not because they ring hourly or for mass or anything like that, but because it's a communication tool that's really relevant only to the people of Walk. And usually it's to announce a death. So if you know that one of your neighbors has not been doing well, and you hear that bell and it's the tonality and how it's rung is telling you it was an older person, blah, 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 or a child or whatever. So you kind of have a sense of what's going on in your community. And so the bells could not be taken off site because they might need to be rung at a moment's notice to tell the village what's going on. So that's all really important too in conservation. You can't change the sound. It has to sound the way it always sounded. And so it's just a really fascinating story. So many of you may be aware that the East Tower has been a focus for a number of years. And so really it was in pretty poor condition. And this is what it looked like just a couple of years ago. It never had the lantern and the dome put on there because in 1797, the money ran out. And so when the money runs out, you stop and people leave the project. And so people often say, well, will you ever add that dome and that little cupola? And the idea is, no, we will never put something there that wasn't there originally, because that's not what we do. But it is really iconic and pretty fabulous. So here, what happened was the scaffolding actually went all the way to the top, and then they would reveal in every layer as they would go down. So you can see that the color is quite shockingly white, but give it a few sandstorms and it's going to all be perfect. But that's what it looks like. Actually, that was from Easter Sunday, and our goal was, when we launched this final phase a year ago, our goal was to have all the scaffolding down in order to welcome the Easter season and let everybody see the mission in its glory. So that has been an incredibly great project to now have completed. And so most people sort of say, okay, now what? What's next? What's going on? So what's next is the iconic facade. And so what happened was, while the scaffolding was coming off the very top, they took it and erected it over the facade so that the conservators could start doing some up close testing and really see the condition of the facade in a new way. In fact, they noticed there were a lot of original pigments that were still there, and there had been some overpainting in the 1950s, but it was very, very helpful because now we're going to be moving into working on conserving the facade and also the preservation values that we need to discuss with all the stakeholders. Like, if it shows that it was highly colored, are people going to want us to take it back to that? Or are they going to want us to keep it kind of how it is, and that in their memory and their family's memory, it looked more like this? So there are some really big conversations that are going to be happening with the parishioners and the people from WAC and different interest groups about how far back we take this. And that's where I was just mentioning a little bit earlier that the conservators took advantage of that scaffolding off the East Tower to really do some more up close research. And they were able to map everything, and that will be really vital in figuring out the next steps of how to treat the facade. And I just wanted to sort of close by reminding everybody from here that, this is not just a little place south of town. I mean, to some people it is, but really it's highly significant. So it's the only surviving mission in Arizona, and it's still serving the same people that it was for whom it was founded since 1692. And I mentioned it's one of the finest examples of ultra Baroque architecture in the United States. And, I look at people who talk about going to the Van Gogh, they walk into a box and they put the Van Gogh exhibits up everywhere, on the screens, and everybody loves it. And I thought, the interesting thing, as great as that is that the mission, when you walk in there, it's completely immersive. I mean, other than a few lights, it's the same as it was in 1797 when they walked off the job because there wasn't any more money. It was named as a National Historic Landmark in 1963, and the World Monuments Fund, it named the mission to their watch list of being one of the most culturally significant at-risk sites in the whole world. So I think having that third-party expertise, raising everybody's awareness, has been amazing. And also, people come to Arizona for a lot of reasons. You have the Visit Tucson that's traveling all over the world trying to get heads in beds for conventions here in Tucson. And you got the same going on in Maricopa County with the Arizona groups that are trying to bring business to our state. But, Southern Arizona has a special niche with people are very interested in history that come to Southern Arizona. And so really, the mission is one of our anchor attractions. And I would just love to get my hands on really, the economic impact of having the mission as a destination for tourism, because it is definitely contributing to the economic vitality of our city and state. And I hope I haven't gone over, President Jimmy. How am I doing on time? But
No, you're doing great.
I'm okay.
No.
I just wanted to respect your time, and I know I've gone pretty quickly, but
No, that's fine. No, well, this is perfect because we do like to open it up to questions, and I'm sure there are some, and all. So please get them ready. But I wanted to start off. So you had mentioned in the presentation that there's not any recurring funding.
Right.
So could you provide some details as to how the organization does maintain itself financially?
Right. So our budget is just a little over $1 million operating budget. And we're a really tiny organization. And we have tremendous funding from individuals who are, coming usually during pre-COVID, coming, taking a tour, being really inspired by what they hear and making a gift, all the way to people making major gifts and saying, I want to take that part of the facade and my family wants to do this project. So I would say the bulk of our funding at this time is individual funding, although we do benefit from some grants, but they're not recurring. And we're really fortunate that we've done well during COVID because we've really connected with people in a new way, kind of like we're connecting with you guys out there, just, in ways that work for people. So individual, some corporate, we'd love more corporate, and also grants. Yes.
I'm coming.
I know that COVID also really affected the Christmas festival and some of those great singers that you have out there. Is that coming back this year?
Well, I love that question, Andy, because the last two holidays we've gone virtual. And so basically we've actually broadened the visibility of concerts immensely. We had over 38 states that made a gift of any amount, and our thank you was to send them a link to the concert. But the good news is that this year we're planning on offering 2 nights of concerts, two concerts a night, so a total of 4. And we're also going to do virtual so that we can really meet people where they want to be. And we're excited to be back, hopefully in full force this season. Yes.
I'm coming out.
Well, I have 2 questions which reflect on my ignorance, but I've lived here all my life. I have never heard reference to walk people or a village called walk. You might have to enlighten
I'd love
at
to.
least me on that. And
I'd love to.
And the other was ethical conservation. I'm not sure what that is.
Right. Oh, I like your questions. You guys are good. Okay, so here's the interesting thing is, Father Kino founded this mission as an enterprise, basically, in 1692. There wasn't a church there, anything. But he brought cattle, he brought different plants. He was kind of the first rancher of cattle rancher of Arizona, if you will. But what happened was he came and settled at the village of Wak. But for those of you who are familiar with Spanish, like a W sound just doesn't really work in Spanish. So the corruption of Wak was Bac. So when you hear San Xavier Del Bac, it's really meaning of walk. So you might win a lottery with that answer if you need it someday. But that's the difference of walk and Bach. And then your other question, I'm just trying to remember. Oh yeah, ethical conservation. So it's really interesting. There are different ways, and those of you who've remodeled houses and done work on your own place or historic places, there are very many ways to do things. But what we're trying to do is be as ethical as possible. So we are including conversations with a wider body of stakeholders. There used to be a time way back in the day when somebody, in New York would say it should be purple. I mean, not with us, but there was just kind of an academic group that would just make decisions, and then the people who would just have to take it as it was. So we're much more about being inclusive, having conversations with the community from the parish, from the village, people who live in the area, anybody who kind of wants to weigh in on where we go, because it's kind of like, the doors. Some of the doors may have been a very different color than they are now because they've just gotten older and they've oxidized. So then you sort of say, oops, sorry, that's my time. So then you sort of say, well, do we take them back to how they were as kind of virgin doors in 1797? And then people are like, I've never seen them like that. They kind of rub me the wrong way, So it's very inclusive. And I think that's where kind of that ethical part comes in. Yeah.
Good question, Al. You got bounty points for that one. Any other questions? And Therese.
On the hill, there's a cross, but whatever, whoever was buried in Mexico, right? So it's not his.
Exactly.
tomb.
Great question. So Father Kino, his bones are actually, you can see them if you go to Magdalena, Mexico. And, you know, you can kind of look through a glass and see his bones that are exposed there. So that hill that you're referring to is Martinez Hill. And interestingly, it's owned by a private family. And I know it's been closed during COVID, but before COVID, they would let people walk up there, and there's a little shrine and a great view of the mission to take pictures, right? But it is just a separate private spot. It's not associated with the church or Patronato. There used to be a procession as a fundraiser way back in the day when people ride their horses and everything, and that sort of went away. But the processions that they have now are really related to the feast days, the Catholic feast days in October and December for St. Francis Xavier and St. Francis. And so at that time, the local parishioners have a mass, and then they proceed out with the effigy of St. Francis Xavier and put off fireworks and have a great celebration. And the community is welcome. I mean, they don't mind if people come. And I've been, and it was just incredible, very, very powerful.
So along those lines, Kimberly, what would you, if someone was in town for one day and they had just one day to go visit the mission, like, is there a particular event, or how would you recommend taking it in? I know it's a little bit of a different question than your specific role, but because the mission, I think that most of us from here, we go, we visit, and observe and head out. So, but you had mentioned the procession and a couple of different events. So I don't know if you have any recommendations on that side of things.
Well, and it's interesting because I'm not Catholic, so I've had to learn all about these saints and these feast days and everything. But as I say, there's an October feast day and a December feast day, which you're welcome to come. But I think if you want to go at a time that's just easy for you, go any day of the week. And hopefully our docent program will be back up and running in the fall. You can take a free tour. And also everybody loves the fry bread that's out under the ramadas. So you don't want to miss the fry bread. And then there is a gift shop that's not related to us, but there is a gift shop. And sometimes people like to go in and buy a few things. But just go take your friends and family and just enjoy, because it really is something beautiful to behold.
Thank you. This is wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Maria Elena.
I am Catholic, and many of you know that there are two St. Francis.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a wonderful story that Jim Griffiths, our beloved Jim Griffiths that died this year, told me, and I treasure. He said that there was an airplane flying over Tucson, and it experienced a failure, and they were going to die. And this gentleman started falling, and this huge hand came out from the sky and asked the man, "Who do you want to call?" And he said, "St. Francis." And he says, "St. Francis of Assisi or the other St. Francis?" And he said, "The other St. Francis. Sorry." So that's my treasure story from Jim Griffith.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
All right, great.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Kimberly, thank you. So Kimberly, you have some experience with Rotary back to your time in Nashville and also with the big club. And so you are probably well familiar with Rotary International's goal to eradicate polio. And so it's a tradition in our club, as a little bit of a token of appreciation for you coming and talking to us, is to do a donation, to make a donation for the foundation to be able to vaccinate 25 more kids against polio in those countries that are still experiencing some exposure. So just as a way for us to say thank you, it's been really great getting this information from you. You're very pleasant to talk to. So if your schedule allows for, we would, those other clubs, I'm sure we're okay, but But anyway, thank you. All right, great. Well, I think that's going to do it for today. I ask, and just as a reminder, please sign up for the events that Andy so eloquently described. Sorry, guys, on Zoom. It really was, it's like he turned into Shakespeare. And so maybe next time you can catch us live here at the Viscount. So with that, any other announcements? Not, I want to thank our hybrid team as usual for all the fine work, and Steve for saving the day on that one. And I want to thank you, John and Joseph, for joining us. And please come again. We'd love to have you. We really do. Maria Elena does a great job, as you can see, with our program. So we'd love to have you back. So with that, I'll invite you all to rise and join me in reciting the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thanks, everybody.